I think there's always a concern from Bills fans and maybe the Bills themselves that they're getting into that type of business with what people would call a diva receiver. Yeah. Is he a diva receiver?
I don't view it that way, honestly. He's respected in the locker room. He practices hard. He cares about his teammates. I think he's an emotional wide receiver.
This is the Buffalo Plus Podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus Podcast. I am Jenna Cottrell. Mike Catalana and Dan Fade still out there in Indy. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. A busy day at the NFL Combine as actually talking to prospects today. We'll talk a little wide receiver. Also, the guys had an interesting conversation with Zach Burman, who covers the Eagles, on wide receiver A.J. Brown, because we know with the Combine, it's not just the prospects, it's also free agency coming up, a lot of trade talks, everything that goes into that. Before we get started, though, I just want to hear just kind of how today was, day 3 of the Combine out in Indy, guys.
It's a big day for us.
We're not dressed identically today.
Yeah, we are not stepbrothers today.
So proud of you.
Yeah, also, I'm not short. I'm above average.
Oh, Dan.
What's average? 5'8"?
I would say 5'9", which you're taller than 5'9".
Okay, I'm still above average.
Joe Brady is a tall man.
Joe Brady is tall.
By the way, I just want to say I'm not that tall because I was next to the Bills general manager.
That is correct. Also, just in general, I'm a giant here. Just want to put that on the record.
Not compared to the prospects, though.
The prospects.
Yeah.
Prospects are bigger giants. But yeah, it's today we got to talk to defensive line, talk to some of them, and linebackers.
Yeah.
So we have a cool story. We heard from Jacob Rodriguez.
Yeah, this guy, it's a wild story with him. Jenna, he was a quarterback at Virginia on scholarship, then leaves, goes to Texas Tech as a walk-on, and makes the team, and then becomes a starter, and then becomes the best defensive player in the country.
All-American, consensus or unanimous All-American. He received votes for the Heisman Trophy is how good he was, and he's still projected to be a second, third-round pick.
And we talked to him mostly because he models his game after Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, is what he told us today.
Because the same body type. So he's like 6'1", 230, not a massive linebacker by any means, but he said he can fit into whatever system the Bills want to do. You were kind of asking him about how it would transition with Jim Leonard's scheme.
And Jenna, he's an underachiever compared to his wife, West Point, and she flies
Black Hawk helicopters. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, like looking at the draft stuff, it's like he literally won almost every award. It feels like best top defensive player, top linebacker, best lineman or linebacker. Like you said, All-American, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time first team All Big 12. Like, there's quite a list there. But were you guys surprised when he said Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard? Because that was in a general podium, so like everyone can ask questions, and you wouldn't, I don't think, expect him to say that.
So I was going to ask him that question because I had seen some comps where they said Matt Milano, and then he was asked who he models his game after. And right away he said the 2 guys in Buffalo. And the reason we bring it up is because as great as he's been, he's mocked in most places between second and third round. So it's not like he's the kind of guy that you have to get in the top 10. So we'll see if the Bills are interested.
So he reminds me a little bit, and again, I haven't crunched all the tape. Jenna's been much more of the film watcher so far this prospect season. But it reminds me a little bit of like the story of Jack Campbell, who was the linebacker at Iowa, who was just incredible, 4-year starter, all of those kind of things, but was still supposed to be like second and third round. And when the Lions drafted him in the first round, they like ridiculed him, the Lions, and he was great. So I did see one of the other comps was Carson Schwarzenegger,
the rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year for the Cleveland Browns. So it's like
defense,
So he said he could play Sam. He said he could play off ball. Like he said he could do it all. So he would be awesome, I think. Just the story alone, and then, you talk about he didn't wrestle, but I don't think we need to worry, Jenna, as much about wrestlers anymore. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
that's
what
fair.
Joe Brady's favor is with that.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I think it's cool today, like to actually finally get to talk to some of the prospects as well. And just like there's so much lead up into the combine. And I know it's a big week, but just to hear and like see the players and kind of get a feel for their personalities, because you're right, like the tape can kind of get monotonous, but actually getting to see and meet the players. But I know wide receiver, obviously, so they're not going till Friday for in terms of interviews, but I know that's been a huge point of emphasis we've talked about so much already.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then there was other people we talked to today. We talked to Diana Rossini from The Athletic, and she has the same sort of vibe that we do when we talk about what it's like to be at the combine. She loves the gossip. She loves going out to dinner, having a couple of beers,
Yeah.
and then doing it all over again. She was good today. And we talked to her about wide receivers.
We talked to her about wide receivers. It was funny because, Mike, you were saying Mike was talking to me earlier this week and was like, maybe one day we'll go over to the stadium and we'll see them run and do the drills. Mike's like, I don't think I've ever seen them do the drills. I was like, I've never been over there. And Diana's like, I've been doing this for a long time. I've never talked to a prospect. I have never been over to see the drills. She goes, I come back and my friends are like, what was this like? What was that like? What was this player like? And she goes, I didn't, no idea. She goes, I had 17 beers though. It's like, that was awesome. One of us. One of us. One of us.
That is quite a strategy, but she is right. Like you can talk to a lot of people, get a lot of intel and a lot of information just about the state of the league, certain teams, all the kind of the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also talked to Matt Harmon, who is our neighbor right here at the Yahoo Sports backdrop.
They spell it differently than we do.
Yeah. He was great. We'll have that interview coming up either later this week or early next week, but he was great talking about Keon Coleman because everybody's talking about Keon Coleman. I have a take with Khalil Shakir, which he agreed with. It's not Mike's take. It's not Mike's take.
It is my take.
It's not.
And Dan has co-opted it.
Nope.
Jenna, you know what this is like.
Nope.
I do. But I can't remember who came up with it first, who started it.
I've got receipts. I've texted other people and workshopped this.
I've said it on the podcast when you're not listening.
I'm going to need you to find the clip. Like I'm so good at finding the clip, you won't be able to find the clip.
How's the team bonding going over there? It feels like you guys are had a lot of QT quality time together over there.
Okay, so back to the combine. And Mike, yesterday we caught up with Zach Burman.
Yeah, because he covers the Eagles for The Athletic, and they're the topic in terms of trades. It's either the Raiders and what they're going to do
with Max Crosby,
and the Eagles with A.J. Brown. And I thought Zach Burman's interview, you're going to hear it here in a second, was very nuanced. Like it was not the simple things you hear. It wasn't all positive about A.J. I think he gave an honest appraisal. So let's take a listen. It's not that long of an interview, but it's a lot of information. Zach Burman from The Athletic on A.J. Brown. All right, we have Zach Burman from The Athletic, covers the Philadelphia Eagles. Welcome to Buffalo Plus.
Great to be on here. Thank you.
Yeah, A.J. Brown is the guy Bills fans want to know about. Look, the Bills are always, at least from a fan perspective, in the market for a receiver. Mm-hmm. Guys like A.J. Brown aren't at least potentially available. Before we talk about what it would take, what's it been like to cover A.J. Brown and watch him both as a player and the guy you deal with?
It's been an incredible experience, honestly, in the sense that he is interesting. He is interested also, right? And like you have conversations with him, he's thoughtful. He's not just giving generic responses. He's emotional sometimes, but I like that about him. There is a human there, not just a character. And then as a football player, I mean, he's the best wide receiver I've ever covered. And I've been on the beat now this will be my 15th season. He is the best. I mean, he is on a Hall of Fame trajectory when you look at his numbers, and the ability that he has to do just about everything at that position is pretty rare.
At the end of the year, they seem to try to get the ball to him more than they did in the middle of the year, and there were some issues.
Yeah.
Do you see any fallback in his ability? Did you see things that you had not seen over
Yeah.
this period of time covering him?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I don't think he looked quite the way he did maybe in 2022, 2023. I still saw an elite wide receiver. But I think whether, if you want to frame it as separation or some of the routes, the timing was off. There were uncharacteristic drops here. You saw that in the playoffs. I don't think this was A.J. Brown's best season, but I think A.J. Brown at the season he had is still better than anything I saw in the Buffalo Bills uniform.
Yeah, the Bills, there's always questions about need and
Yeah.
want and what you want. I think it's pretty well known, and even Brandon Beane tried to make moves at the deadline last year to get him. If the Bills were to make a move, and we can talk about what compensation might be for A.J. Brown, going to a new team, being the unquestioned number one guy. I mean, Devontae Smith's a really good player. The Bills don't really have that. What type of player would you see for the Buffalo Bills in what you've seen with Josh Allen as a quarterback?
In terms of AJ, someone who is just physically different, right? The body that he the ability that he has in that body, the yards after the catch ability that he's demonstrated in his career, the ability to be open even when he doesn't appear open. He has a sign in his locker that says always open, and he lives up to that, right? Like, you throw him the ball, even when he's covered, he can make a play on the ball. He can turn a 10-yard reception into a 40-yard gain. And I know critics might say some of that has waned, but I still saw enough of that to think that he can do that.
The Bills had Stephon Diggs, who was very good for them until it went south. I think there's always a concern from Bills fans, and maybe the Bills themselves, that they're getting into that type of business with what people would call a diva receiver. Is he a diva receiver?
I don't view it that way, honestly. He's respected in the locker room. He practices hard. He cares about his teammates. I think he's an emotional wide receiver, and I think he can wear those emotions on his sleeve sometimes. But I don't think he is a diva wide receiver, because I think in the locker room he's respected and he does the right things.
When he talked last year about this offense needs to change, I think from just about anybody's perspective, it needed to be better, didn't it? Did he go about it in what you would think for the team in the right way, or was that ended up contributing somewhat to the issues that they had?
Fair question. The right way is subjective. I certainly didn't mind it as a reporter. I think as long as what you're saying is true, and I think what he was saying is true, that they needed the change, that they couldn't put a Band-Aid, to use his expression, on some of their offensive problems. And he proved clairvoyant at the end of the season, honestly. Now, he contributed to it in terms of he had a bad drop in the playoffs, like I said. But I don't think the team's downfall last year was because of A.J. Brown.
If the Eagles were to make this move, whether it's post-June 1st or not, it's a substantial cap hit. It would be them wanting to say, we're going to move on from this guy. My thought would be that would include substantial compensation back, because the team getting him has a very manageable contract. What would you assume, or from what you've heard, it's going to take to get an A.J. Brown?
Yeah, so first off, it would have to come to them trading him, and I think a lot of that will have to do with his appetite for being in Philly or playing elsewhere. If it gets to that point, a lot of it has to also do with the competition on the market. And when you're looking just the complexion of the AFC, Baltimore, Buffalo, New England, Kansas City, they all need wide receivers. And when contenders all need a position, and there's an elite one who could become available, it's usually a seller's market more than it is a buyer's market. And so I would imagine a late first-round pick. I know there's been projections that have been less aggressive than that. But like I said, if one team's bidding, it's a buyer's market. If multiple teams are bidding, it's a seller's market. And I think in that case, if New England's in play and Buffalo's in play, they're bidding against each other, that's advantageous for the Eagles.
And last thing would be, it's a decision the Eagles ultimately have to make, one way or the other, to keep him. Where would you stack it up right here as we're talking in February, the chances that he's still with the Eagles or the chances that he's moved on?
Yeah, I'm going like 50-50, honestly, and I know that's not that doesn't really give a clear answer, because I don't know if there's a clear answer right now, because I still think that if he wants to play in Philly, I think he'll be in Philly. I don't think it serves the Eagles well to trade him. I don't think the cap is what would prevent him from doing it. I think they know how to absorb cap hits, and the cash savings are such that it could be beneficial for the organization long term. But the issue is that if you move an outstanding player out of your offense, how do you fill that void? Devontae Smith would have a bigger role, but they have a question at tight end already. They have a new offense here. I saw this offense before A.J. Brown got there in 2021. It did not look good in the passing game. I can't imagine trading A.J. Brown would be beneficial for them, so the price would need to be right, and they need to have a plan to replace him in that case as well.
All right, I said last thing, but I'm going to ask you one
I like
more.
this.
He would also be going to Buffalo, which in the past was a negative, but they got that unicorn at quarterback in Josh Allen. How do you think, knowing at least as well as you can know A.J. Brown, he would be coming to Buffalo and playing with a guy like Josh Allen?
Yeah, I think A.J., I can't tell you what A.J. Brown wants, but I would project, based on conversations that and interviews, that he wants to be the best receiver in the NFL, and he wants to win. And Buffalo is a place where that could happen. New England's a place where that could happen. And so, yeah, I mean, if he said on record after he won the Super Bowl that he wanted to put a stamp on being the best receiver in the NFL. And I think he needs to feel as if that could happen in Philly. And I don't know what the answer is to that. If he goes elsewhere, given Josh Allen's talent, given Joe Brady's experience with top wide receivers, you saw that going back to LSU, I would imagine that A.J. Brown could flourish if he were in Buffalo's system, if he were in New England system, or frankly if he were in Philly's system, if they approach it the right way.
All right. Well, thanks very much. Zach Burman from The Athletic. Thanks for being on Buffalo Plus.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate when he says things like, AJ's a good guy. AJ's good in the locker room. People perceive him as a diva. He's not a diva. He's just a different guy, introspective. And he did come out and say things. And as Zach mentioned there, he kind of let them down late in the year. So there were some issues. But I get the feeling from the people in Philly, including Zach, A.J. Brown is still that elite talent that could help any team.
Jenna, what was your thought on A.J. Brown, the Bills making a move for him before the Zach Burman interview and then after? Because mine kind of changed a little bit. I don't know about you.
I hear you. Before, I'd be like, absolutely not. Like what you saw at the end of last season. I know he's a great player, but can he be reliable? Also, he's going to be 29 years old this year. Like, I feel like a part of me thought he was an older player. But no, before I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. Like, you don't want another headache in Buffalo. We saw how things ended with Diggs and like the weird energy there. But after listening to Zach Berman's interview, I was like, he is a different type of wide receiver. He commands a lot of attention, and to have a top tier talent like that, to be a number one guy, he's won a Super Bowl. He knows what it takes. And maybe it's not a bad thing to have a guy set out and say, you know what, we need to do this better on offense. We need to get better here. So it's kind of funny because I'm like, wow, I think it had more sway than I expected it when I first started listening to it. Dan, I don't know how you feel, but it made me warm up to the idea in a way that I probably haven't in the last couple of weeks. But zooming out, I do think that maybe that's not the direction the Bills do end up going in. And like what Zach Burman talked about in terms of there's going to be multiple suitors, like he's talked about, New England being possibly one as well. But I did think it was curious. I was like, wow, I kind of came back, the pendulum swung a little bit the other way too.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt about it, because I've only seen it. Like you talk about zooming out. I felt like the Zach gave us the perspective of diving in. Like he gave me that view of I've only seen it from the peripheral. I've only seen the clips. I've only seen the articles. I've only seen the headlines. And then for him to say like he is respected in that locker room. Yes, he is different. And Mike, it goes back to the mental health stuff that he's been dealing with since his time in Tennessee. Like he is not just a diva in the sense of I want the ball. He wanted to help the Eagles offense that stunk last year.
Yeah.
And he's saying like, I'm not being used the correct way. You can't put a Band-Aid on this kind of stuff. It's got to get fixed. I liked what Zach was saying about how he wants to be a number one. He wants to be the best wide receiver in the NFL. And if he were to come to Buffalo, he would be unquestioned the number one, which I think checks one of the boxes he wants.
Exactly. But he was number one in Philly. And I think the issue was that he made it public and he did the tweets. Like, sometimes people can, or not tweets, it was maybe Instagram, but at the same time, sometimes you may be right. It's the way you go about doing it. Now, I will tell you guys this. My impression from most of the people we've talked to, even Zach said 50-50, they don't believe he's going to be traded. I think it's a difficult thing to make that move. It's a major cap hit for the Eagles. Plus, they're changing their offense. And I think he may be excited about the offense they're going to run this year. And Howie Roseman's not going to do something that's going to set his team back. That's not usually the way he does deals. So it's a matter of can they make it where he wants to stay there? Because I think it felt more like, well, they're definitely going to deal him. I felt a little bit more like they're going to try to make it work out because the compensation might be kind of high to get him because the Eagles are taking the big cap hit. And so the other team, they may be looking for somebody to give up more picks. I will tell you the one that I've heard from multiple people about another receiver Bills fans know. I think they believe Diggs is done in Foxborough, that he's going to be out.
That's kind of the vibe that it seems like.
I mean, you could see why.
Yeah.
I think it's his production at the end of the year massively dropped off, especially in the playoffs. I think that was a team that was transitioning anyways. They went further than anyone expected, but I think for Diggs, it was like, okay, he's coming off the ACL. We'll see what he has. He is a veteran. He has had production in the past. And then, I think he's at the point in his career where it's like 1-year deals, also the distractions, kind of everything around off the field stuff. But yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot too is made with seeing something in print, seeing something on The Athletic, the headline, or the comments that AJ would make. Jenna, I always think about this. I talk about this with friends and my family. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And sometimes that has come across as that's where I think the thought that Brown is a diva is because of what has been said. But Berman, I think, helped sway me. And Jenna, like you said, the pendulum swung back the other way for me.
I do think a couple things. One, sometimes it's hard because we've all been at a press conference where a player says something, and you're right, it's the tone of voice in which they say it. But then when you read it on a tweet, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they said this. But when you're actually listening to it, it's the context of the tone and how different that makes the feel of the sentence be. But I do think, and we've seen it in our own right of, when you're covering a team sometimes and it tweets out and then it goes to the national audience, it's like it kind of, not to say it creates a storyline of its own, but there are times where things, kind of change from what you're feeling directly in the room to what the outside, global approach and perspective is. So I thought it was cool to hear his perspective because, yeah, in my eyes, before this interview, you asked me about AJ Brown. I'm like, he's emotional. He's a diva. He's fallen off. Like, he's not worth the essentially the not heartache, but what's the word? The headache, excuse me. But after talking to him, I'm like, you know what? There does seem like there is upside there if a team wants to invest enough in him to bring him out of Philly.
I will say there's a couple of things. I felt the relationship, it seems like AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts kind of mimicked a little bit of Diggs and Allen. And they were really tight, and then they weren't. I mean, especially AJ Brown and Hurts were really close. Now, I just think he's a different kind of guy. And he has said after he won the Super Bowl, this isn't what completes me. I'm worried I'm going right back in the gym. And that's fine. And he's self-motivated that way. But you guys know, I think Josh is a vibes guy. I think he wants good players, but he likes everybody rowing in the same direction.
Do you think AJ, especially you,
not
understanding and being more in tune than Jenna and I, do you think his vibe could fit with Josh?
Well, I'm sure it could, but he does seem to go to these places that it's just a little different.
But do you think it's just also the fresh start? Do you think a fresh start would do him better than trying to make this relationship work in Philly?
I guess it could. I feel like he's a very, like you meant, he's thoughtful and internal guy. Thinks about himself in relation to being a football player and then just being a person.
Mhm.
And I don't know how much different that would be in Buffalo with Josh Allen as opposed to in Philly with Jalen Hurts.
Mhm.
I think he is who he is. He's a unique guy. He's already been paid. He's already won a championship. So we'll see. I think I'd say 50-50 whether he's dealt at all and whether the Bills are then in the market. Maybe they're not even in it, but in the market for a Brian Thomas or signing a Mike Evans as a free agent, those type of things,
Yeah.
if you want to go for a big swing.
Yeah,
I'll
I don't
say
think I don't think for
60-40
the
Eagles. Yeah.
I don't think he's the Bills' big fish. I could see the
He's a big
Patriots.
fish.
He is a big fish. I don't think he's the Bills' big fish. I could definitely see the Patriots being
Well, yeah.
very interested with the fact that there's a connection with Mike Vrabel. But for the Bills, I don't think it would be a personality, like you said, Mike, vibes fit, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
seems like it. But he is a win ready and right. He's a heck of a player.
Yeah.
And I think Bills fans would be happy to see that kind of talent at wide receiver. It's just a matter of what they'd have to give up.
You comment in if you would like AJ Brown. If it costs, I think reality is it's a first-round pick. Because of what the Eagles are going to have to eat cap-wise, that isn't real, but they're going to have to eat. Dead cap is real, actually. They're going to have to eat that. I think it will take, because the Bills are at 26, I think it's going to take a pick in the 20s to get AJ Brown. And so comment in if you would like it, if there's somebody else that you'd be interested in. Like I said, I talked with Matt Harmon about Mike Evans, Romeo Doubs, Alec Pierce. He talked about DJ Moore. He talked about Michael Pittman as also other candidates that could fit in Buffalo, as well as drafting a wide receiver. But these would be, as he kind of said, double dipping. And also, Jenna kind of alluded to what you've said about Brandon doubling down and overcorrecting after years of not making the moves. And he's like, we still don't really know what Josh Palmer is. Thinks they could do a move in free agency or via trade or free agency and then drafting one in 26.
I mean, honestly, I would like to see that. I would like to see a multiples approach in this because I think where the wide receiver room is, it needs a lot of work, A, and B.
No. Joe said yesterday that's all overdone. The fact that this receiver room isn't good enough.
Joe said also there's more to Khalil Shakir than just short routes because Joe's never coached Khalil Shakir.
Here's the way Joe said it to Dan.
You did look pretty tiny,
He's
Dan.
like, hey, Dan.
That's not
hey, buddy.
fair. Joe's probably at least 6'2".
Yeah, I would agree.
I think I checked. Joe's 5'9".
Yeah. No, that's
What
true.
an ass.
And I'm 6'4".
No, but I want them to throw many resources at wide receiver.
Yes.
It's like money. Wide receivers are like money. You can never have too many. Like, in my opinion, go after someone because you have Josh Allen. Like this, you've seen what this team has been struggling with to get the ball down the field. Having more options is better. You allocated so many resources to the defense. Why don't you give some to the offense and specifically wide receiver?
Stop bitching about wide receiver.
I've been saying it for years. I'm ready to be hurt again. I'm ready to be hurt again. I'm ready to get my hopes up. To get hopes up for free agents, trades, and a first-round wide receiver. I'm ready to be hurt.
I know, but like a couple years ago when they traded back and then they picked Keon, we were immediately disappointed. We didn't like that pick on night one. Well, I guess it was technically night two.
Yeah, night two.
Yeah. We didn't like the night one or night two.
Yeah. So comment in what you guys think. Obviously, we will get more into free agency is just around the corner, but we have plenty of content in the bag that will be coming on Buffalo Plus.
Yeah. What else, guys?
Well, we're going to Elmo's tonight.
Oh.
Before we get to Elmo's, a little story time with Mike here from last night.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear it.
The Pacers game.
So we got tickets I got to see my Sixers play. The Pacers were great last year. They were playing with nobody. I could have gotten a little run in that game for the Pacers. Like, they had nobody.
And you got to see your boy Embiid play.
Embiid played. They
Casual
dominated
27.
Maxey. They won by a ton. So we go to eat, and Jenna, we had already eaten. And then Dan says, I want a pretzel.
Yes. I was like, I can go. So we went to the stadium to eat. There was a Chick-fil-A fine. I don't need to get the Pacers food like du jour. Like it's stadium food. So I know at least what I'm going to get
Pacer
with Chick-fil-A.
pizza.
Yeah, like I Speedway sandwich. Like I don't need that. Like I will just. It was fine, but I wasn't totally full from the Chick-fil-A. So I was like, let's walk around. I was going to get popcorn or something, and there were Ben's soft pretzels.
So, Jenna, remember that story I told on the podcast about the Sears stores when I was a kid, when I was Husky Mike with my mom?
That's not what you said.
I was a little fat Mike walking around, and
You
my
were
mom
husky.
we would leave the store, and they had those soft pretzels, and they would come down off the rack,
good.
and I was like locked in, and she would give me the pretzel. I could have eaten like 6 of them. Well, I had 6 of them last night in one pretzel.
So we were with Stephen Bond, friend of the pod, and he's like, oh, there's this. It wasn't like a stadium pretzel. It was like a cart. They were more homemade.
It's
it was
the
more
size
mom
of
and
a
pop.
pizza.
We got the pretzel. It was 3 pounds. Like it was, Jenna, it was a loaf.
That sounds
of bread.
amazing.
It was so heavy.
I went back to 9-year-old Mike.
But was it good?
Yeah, it was good.
It was good.
Okay, I was gonna say, then it's worth it.
Crushed
Sounds
it.
so good. I'm shocked though, because Dan is not a snacker. The fact that you went after dinner and got more food is not you.
That pretzel was not a snack.
That was.
It's like, I'm still full today.
Yeah, along with the waffle we had in the morning. But the funny story, Jenny, you have about Mike saying that he was a little fat Mike when he talks about him as a kid, which is so funny to me to hear every time. And you said he's husky. My brother was husky growing up as a kid, and he thought that the brand name of the pants that he would get was Husky.
That's what Mike thought. Yeah.
No, it's not a brand.
No, but I think there was some.
That was like the section of the store that you bought the clothes in.
Oh yeah, the guy would tell me.
Like they weren't like Levi's. Like they were Husky.
Yes.
But my brother thought that was the brand. Like you got. Like
I thought it was the brand too. No, it's just the size.
It's just the section of the store at which you purchase things.
I quickly figured that out as a kid.
So
I didn't
funny.
realize that.
So tonight is Elmo's.
How are you feeling? Did you eat anything today?
I had a muffin for breakfast because I needed more carbs.
And then a kind of a lame salad.
Salad here, but that's fine.
What's your
order? We got a late dinner tonight.
What are you thinking? What time's din?
8:30.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We're gonna do shrimp cocktail, obviously.
So good.
Then I like the navy bean soup.
Yeah, much more than I thought I would.
Yeah, because it's that or tomato juice. And the first time I was like, I don't like navy bean soup. I went with the tomato juice. It's really a glass of V8.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not it. And then I'll do mashed potatoes and the strip. You're going to go filet, aren't you?
I liked the filet last time. And then maybe it's Scooter's home.
Shout out Chuck Wade.
Chuck Wade, friend of the pod, sent us a little gift for our dinner tonight.
Really?
It's very kind of him.
What a guy. He's the best.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He also sent a great t-shirt. Just haven't been able to wear it on the pod.
Yeah.
Great t-shirt.
That's fair. Did you guys tell this Scooter story last year?
They're everywhere.
No.
They're just
this specific Scooter story.
2 years ago, was it after an Elmo's night? And we went to Kilroy's.
Oh, we stayed out.
We stayed out. Your friend was a bad influence.
It's
had
Matt.
A couple sodas.
Pops.
Scootering home on these Lime scooters, and you don't think they're that fast, especially when you're a little
They weren't that fast.
inebriated. And we pull up to the hotel, and you know when you were a kid, Jenna, and you were riding your bike, and then you would hop off your bike, and then you would match the speed at which you were going, like you kind of jumped off your bike.
Dan didn't match the speed.
I did not match the speed. I was like, I'm just going to hop off this scooter, and I slid 10 feet.
I don't know. I just got up and said, "Are you okay?"
He's safe.
And then Mike was gone. And then
gone.
I had to get him back because you had to turn off the scooter.
Yeah, somebody would have turned it off.
But yeah,
I cruised right on in.
you did. They are fast.
Yeah, I've never
They're
been on
quick.
one of those.
I was
you were
on
the
the scooter.
sidewalk, so it's like you're
No, I was
No,
right
you're-
down the middle of the road.
Middle of the road.
What?
Middle of the road.
Middle of the road, like 2
I
in the
was
morning.
like, I was riding that scooter like
Where were the
Leonardo
cars?
DiCaprio in the Titanic,
There are no cars.
just out the front.
Okay.
There were no cars. And then I was like, okay, I was approaching the curb, like to get into the hotel. So I was like, I can't take the scooter. I'm going to hit the curb. I'll hop off. Like, oh,
Be an athlete next time, Dan.
Be an athlete. Oh my
And I'm-
gosh.
sprawled out.
I
And
got
Mike
a little
just goes,
FOMO. I got FOMO here.
Are
Next
you
year?
jumping on a scooter?
No, not for that. The steaks. The navy bean soup. I'm a little. I don't
It's
know.
really good.
I don't.
Yeah.
What's
Really good.
like the base? Like what's the broth?
Tomato. It's like a tomato
Okay.
broth.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I don't like beans. I like the navy bean soup.
it's because
I
it's
don't
an
know why
Elmo.
that's really funny.
Yeah,
I don't like
I
beans.
I don't like beans in chili. I don't like beans on
Oh,
my.
like beans.
Right? I don't know why that's so funny to me.
He doesn't like. Oh, never mind. It'll get us in trouble.
Do you have anything else, gentlemen?
No, I think that's pretty good.
We're just a content machine out here.
What's tomorrow?
Linemen and tight ends.
Okay.
Edge. Right?
I thought
thought
Edge
it
was
was,
today.
Right. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's edge. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Tight ends tomorrow, and then wide receivers
Receivers
on
on
Friday.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm excited.
And a lot of gossip.
I know.
And a recap.
And Elmo's recap.
Okay, yeah. I want to hear about it. What do you go to? Old fashioned?
Old fashioned.
That sounds
That's what the
really
kids are
good.
drinking these days.
Look at you staying young. Okay. All right. That'll do it for us. For Mike and Dan. Having a great time at St. Elmo's tonight. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I am Jenna Cottrell. We will catch you next time here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel.
Podcast.
Buffalo Plus.